Welcome to Goodnight Audio, your cozy little corner for bedtime stories. Take a deep breath, let the world fade away, and let our voice carry you into a peaceful night. May you enjoy every story we tell.
The Chosen One. The sun was just beginning to rise over the coastal city of Thalander, casting a golden glow upon the waves that lapped gently against the shore. Kaelan Stormrider stood on the edge of the cliff, his salty breeze tussling his silver hair, his deep blue eyes scanning the horizon. It was a tranquil morning, the kind he cherished in his simple life as a fisherman's son. Yet, today felt different. The air crackling with a tension he couldn't quite place. With each breath, he felt a flutter of unease, as if the world was shifting beneath his feet. The waves seemed to whisper secrets, urging him to look closer at the tide that flowed in. Shaking his head, he took a step back, dismissing the strange feeling. "It's just a day like any other," he muttered to himself, the sound of his voice mingling with the cries of distant gulls. But fate had other plans. As Kaelan turned to head back to the village, his foot caught on something buried in the sand. Stumbling, he knelt down to inspect the object, brushing away the grains to reveal a smooth, circular artifact, etched with intricate runes that glimmered faintly in the morning light. It pulsated with a power he couldn't comprehend, sending a shiver down his spine. "What in the realm?" Kaelan whispered, feeling an inexplicable draw towards it. He reached out, fingers trembling as he touched the cool surface. In that moment, a surge of energy coursed through him, a dazzling light enveloping his form, blinding him momentarily. When the light faded, Kaelan gasped, feeling a weight settle upon his shoulders, a mantle of responsibility that he had never sought. The world around him spun as voices echoed in his mind, overlapping and chaotic. "The Chosen One, restore balance. Fulfill your destiny." He staggered back, shock and confusion washing over him. Chosen One, balance. He looked around, half expecting someone to jump out and tell him it was all a joke. But the only response was the relentless crash of the waves below, now sounding ominous in the backdrop of his thoughts. What have I done? Kaelan's heart raced. The artifact. It marked him in a way he couldn't fathom. His simple life was slipping away like sand through his fingers. He scrambled to his feet. The artifact still pulsing faintly in his grasp. He needed answers. As he hurried down the path towards the village, the landscape blurred past him. He could feel eyes upon him, and not just from the villagers who were already beginning their day. Something else was watching. Something powerful, perhaps even sinister. A chill crept down his spine. Reaching the village, he spotted Lyra Shadowbane, the clever thief with a reputation for getting herself into, and out of, trouble. She was perched atop a low wall, her dark hair cascading down her shoulders, eyes sharp and scanning the crowd. When she spotted him, her face lit up with mischief.
"Kaelan!"
"You look like you've seen a ghost," she called out, hopping down gracefully. "What's got you all worked up?" He hesitated, the weight of the artifact pressing in his pocket. "I found something that might change everything." Her expression shifted, curiosity picked. "Something good, or something that will get us both in trouble?" "More like something that could get us killed," he replied, glancing around as if expecting the arbiter itself to manifest at any moment. "I need to show you." Lyra raised an eyebrow, intrigued but cautious. Led the way then. "You're starting to sound like a brooding hero." They slipped away from the bustling market, moving towards a secluded spot behind the old temple. As Kaelan revealed the artifact, its light flickering in the shade, Lyra's eyes widened. "By the gods! Where did you find this?" "I stumbled upon it by the cliffs, but now it feels like I'm being pulled into something much bigger," he admitted, his voice laced with uncertainty. Lyra stepped closer, examining the runes. "This is ancient magic. It's powerful." She looked up, her expression shifting from awe to concern. "You need to be careful, Kaelan. Things like this come with a price." Just then, the air thickened, and a strange sensation enveloped them, as if the very fabric of reality had shifted. Kaelan felt it before he saw it, a figure emerging from the shadows, its presence commanding and ethereal. "You are the Chosen One," it spoke, the voice echoing in their minds rather than their ears. "What do you want?" Kaelan demanded, trying to mask his fear behind a veneer of bravado. "I am the Arbiter," the figure announced, its form flickering like a candle flame. "I have watched you, Kaelan Stormrider. You possess the strength to restore balance to Eldoria." "Restoring balance," Lyra interjected, crossing her arms defiantly. "What does that even mean?" "It means you are part of a greater destiny. One that involves the 5 kingdoms and the elemental forces that bind them," the Arbiter explained, its eyes glowing with an unearthly light. "You have awakened to your power, but with that power comes responsibility and danger." Kaelan felt the weight of the artifact grow heavier in his pocket, as if responding to the Arbiter's words. "I didn't ask for this," he exclaimed, frustration bubbling to the surface. "I just want to live my life." "Your life is intertwined with the fate of Eldoria," the Arbiter replied, its tone unwavering. "You must embrace your role or face dire consequences. The choice is yours." With those final words, the Arbiter vanished, leaving behind an unsettling silence. Kaelan stood frozen, the reality of his situation settling in like a thick fog. The artifact pulsed once more, sending a jolt through him, igniting an urgency deep within. "I didn't sign up for this," he murmured, his heart racing as he looked at Lyra. "What am I supposed to do?" Latimer's expression softened, a rare moment of sincerity crossing her features. "You're not alone in this, Kaelan. We'll figure it out together." But even as she spoke, Kaelan could see the uncertainty in her eyes, mirroring his own fears. The morning light dimmed, casting long shadows as the weight of the artifact loomed large over their futures. In that moment, he realized this was only the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything he believed about himself, his destiny, and the world around him. As they stood there, the distant sound of the ocean felt like a reminder of the chaos waiting to be unleashed, and Kaelan knew they had little time. Whatever lay ahead, he could no longer pretend he was just an ordinary man living a simple life. The tides had turned, and he had no choice but to navigate the storm that awaited him. The weight of the silence was palpable, lingering in the air like a dense fog that refused to lift. Kaelan felt his pulse quicken, an instinctual reaction to the sudden shift in his reality. The artifact, hidden within the folds of his tunic, seemed to hum softly, as if resonating with the gravity of the Arbiter's declaration. He had always thought of himself as an ordinary young man of Valander, living a life defined by the rhythm of the tides and the echoes of the sea. Now, he was marked as the chosen one, a notion that twisted his stomach in knots. What does this even mean? He muttered, mostly to himself, glancing out over the horizon where the ocean met the sky in a clash of blues. The sunlight danced on the water's surface, yet the view brought him no solace. Instead, it felt like a mockery of his sudden predicament. Lyra, still leaning against the weathered stone wall, let out a small sigh. "It means you're in way over your head, Kaelan." Her sarcasm, while masking genuine concern, didn't escape his notice. She pushed herself off the wall, taking a few steps toward him, her agile form moving with a grace that always intrigued him. "Thanks for the pep talk, Lyra," he shot back, the frustration coloring his voice. "I thought today would be just another day of fishing and avoiding trouble." "Not." He gestured vaguely at the spot where the Arbiter had stood, confusion and irritation flickering across his features. "Not what?" Lyra stepped closer, her eyes narrowing as she assessed him. "Not being chosen by a cosmic entity. You have no idea how rare this is, Kaelan. Some people would kill for this opportunity." "Huh? Yeah. Well, I'm not some power, hungry noble." He ran a hand through his silver hair, a gesture of helplessness that mirrored the turmoil brewing inside him. "I just wanted to avenge my father, to bring peace to our land, not be part of some grand destiny." Lyra tilted her head slightly, a faint smile ghosting across her lips. "And what if this is how you do it? What if embracing this destiny allows you to finally do something about the chaos? This could be your chance." Kaelan remained unconvinced, his eyes scanning the shoreline, as if the crashing waves might offer him a simpler answer. Just then, the distant tolling of a bell broke through the quiet. It echoed across the docks, calling fishermen and merchants to their day's work. The familiar sounds were comforting, yet they felt like a siren's call, drawing him back to a life he was no longer certain he could return to. "Do you hear that?" he asked, his voice dropping to a whisper. "It sounds so normal, but I'm not normal anymore. What if I screw this up?" Lyra stepped forward, her expression shifting from sarcasm to seriousness. "Then you screw it up. We learn from it. We adapt. But you can't back down now, Kaelan. You've got to at least try." The challenge in her tone ignited something in him, an ember of determination battling the dread that threatened to extinguish it. He could see the glimmer of something in her eyes. Was it hope? Or perhaps the promise of adventure, even amidst the uncertainty? "All right, I'll try," he finally said, his voice steadier. "But what do I even do? How do I restore balance?" Before Lyra could respond, a sudden tremor ran through the ground beneath them. The water in the harbor rippled violently, as if a great beast stirred beneath its surface. Kaelan instinctively reached for the hilt of his sword, which hung at his side. The ocean roared, and waves began to surge higher, crashing against the docks with a ferocity that sent fishermen scrambling for safety. "What in Eldoria is happening?" Lyra shouted over the tumult. Her voice was tense, eyes wide as they searched for answers in the chaos unfolding before them. "I don't know," Kaelan exclaimed, panic lacing his words. The artifact in his pocket placed the glow, and for a brief moment, he felt a surge of energy flow through him. He staggered back, barely able to keep his balance, as a vision flashed in his mind, elements clashing, shadows creeping, and a dark figure looming large over a throne. "Kaelan," Lyra's voice broke through his trance, sharp with urgency. "Focus! You have to use your powers. Do something!" Swallowing hard, Kaelan concentrated on the pulsing energy from the artifact. It was as if the very essence of the stormy seas had awakened inside him, urging him to respond. He raised his hands instinctively, palms open toward the tumultuous waters. The air crackled, charged with electricity, and in that moment, he felt the connection to the elemental forces that flowed through Eldoria. "Stop," he commanded, his voice rising above the roar of the waves. To his astonishment, the water began to obey. The chaos quieted, as if a barrier had formed between him and the surging tide. Kaelan watched in awe as the waves slowly receded, their wrath diminishing under his newfound command. Lyra's eyes widened in disbelief, a mixture of astonishment and admiration. "You did it." But before he could celebrate, a shadow loomed behind them, larger than the chaos of the sea. From the corner of his eye, Kaelan caught a glimpse of a figure, a man draped in dark robes, his eyes burning like embers. "Foolish boy," the figure rasped, his voice as chilling as the darkest depths of the ocean. "You think you can alter the course of destiny. You are merely a pawn in this game." Kaelan felt the cold grip of fear claw at his insides, but he refused to show weakness. "And you are who?" "Another obstacle in my way." The figure's lips curled into a sinister smile. "I am Thorne, a harbinger of chaos. You'll soon learn that the forces you tamper with are beyond your control." Before Kaelan could react, Thorne raised his hand, and tendrils of shadow began to unfurl toward him, wrapping around the air like a noose. Instinct kicked in as Kaelan summoned all his focus, the artifact igniting a blaze of power within him. He braced himself, ready to confront this new threat head-on. "Get back," Lyra shouted, drawing her dagger, poised for a fight. The air thickened with tension as they faced the unexpected adversary, a dark premonition hanging over them. In that moment, Kaelan understood Lyra. His journey had truly begun, and the stakes were already far higher than he had imagined. As the darkness pressed in, he knew there was no turning back now. The tides of fate were irrevocably changing, and he had to rise to meet them, or risk being swept away entirely. "Kaelan?" Lyra's voice cut through the heavy air like a blade, sharp with urgency. "Focus. You have to use your powers. Do something." Kaelan swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words. The pulsating energy from the artifact at his feet resonated through him, calling forth the storm within. His hands trembled as he raised them instinctively, palms open toward the raging sea. The air around him crackled with electricity, a charge that made his skin tingle, igniting something deep inside, something ancient. "Stop," he commanded, his voice barely rising above the thunderous waves. Miraculously, the ocean obeyed. The chaos began to quiet, as if an unseen barrier had formed between him and the wild tide. Kaelan watched, awe-stricken, as the waves receded, their fury dimming under his newfound command. Lyra stood beside him, her wide green eyes reflecting disbelief and admiration. "You did it," she exclaimed, a hint of excitement creeping into her voice. But before Kaelan could allow himself to bask in the triumph, a looming shadow invaded their moment. A caught a glimpse of a figure emerging from the tempest, a man swathed in dark robes, his eyes flickering like burning coals amidst the storm. "Foolish boy," the figure rasped, his voice sending chills down Kaelan's spine. "You think you can alter the course of destiny. You are merely a pawn in this game." Kaelan clenched his jaw, steeling himself against the chilling grip of fear that threatened to consume him. "And you are who?" "Another obstacle in my way." His tone was defiant, but he could feel his heart racing. The figure's lips twisted into a sinister smile. "I am Thorne, a harbinger of chaos. You'll soon learn that the forces you tamper with are beyond your control." In that instant, the air shifted. Kaelan barely had time to react before Thorne raised a hand, and tendrils of shadow began to unfurl, spiraling toward him like serpents seeking prey. Panic surged through him, but instinct kicked in. He summoned all his focus, the artifact pulsating with power within his grasp, igniting a blaze of energy that coursed through his veins. "Get back," Lyra shouted, her dagger gleaming in the dim light, ready to fight. The atmosphere thickened with tension, the world around them teetering on the edge of chaos. Kaelan's heart raced, the gravity of the moment weighing heavily on his shoulders. This was not just a test of his strength, it was a battle for his very destiny. With Thorne's shadowy tendrils creeping closer, he could feel the encroaching darkness wrapping around him, tightening its grip. "Stop!" Kaelan shouted again, channeling every ounce of his resolve. The winds around him surged as he attempted to wrest control over the shadows. The storm inside him roared to life, intertwining with his will. To his astonishment, the shadows recoiled for a moment, as if startled by the force he was wielding. It was a fleeting victory, but it was enough. He drew on the elemental magic coursing through him, feeling the air and water converge around him, forming a shield. Thorne's eyes narrowed, his expression darkening. "You may delay the inevitable, but you cannot escape your fate." With a flick of his wrist, the shadows lashed out, a desperate attempt to regain control. The tendrils lunged, but Kaelan was ready. He spun to the side, dodging the attack, and launched a counter-offensive wave of energy toward Thorne. The blast collided with the shadows, creating a blinding flash that momentarily illuminated the storm. Kaelan stumbled backward, breathless from the exertion. But the brief glimmer of success ignited a spark of hope. Perhaps he could master this power after all. "Now," Lyra called, breaking through the haze of chaos. With deft movements, she darted toward Thorne, dagger poised to strike. Kaelan watched as she leaped, graceful and fierce, but he felt a pang of concern. They were both in over their heads. Thorne was dangerous, far more than they had anticipated. "Lyra, wait," he shouted, panic seeping into his voice. In that instant, Thorne turned, eyes blazing with fury. He extended his hand again, summoning the shadows to entangle Lyra, their serpentine forms ready to ensnare her. Kaelan's heart raced, desperation clawing at him. He couldn't let this happen. With a surge of determination, he pushed his power further than he thought possible, calling forth a torrent of water that surged from the ocean, forming a barrier around Lyra just in time. The shadows crashed against it, hissing like a wounded beast. Lyra landed gracefully, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. "Kaelan, you did it! Stay behind me!" he ordered, fear now fueling his resolve. He could feel the weight of the world on his shoulders, the implications of his choices, cascading like the waves crashing at their feet. Thorne's laughter echoed around him, dark and menacing. "You think you've won, boy? This is just the beginning." He began to chant, the shadows gathering like a storm, ready to unleash hell upon them. Kaelan felt the familiar tug of dread pulling at him. He had unleashed a power he barely understood, and now it seemed to draw the ire of forces far greater than he had ever imagined. The artifact at his feet hummed with energy, the connection between him and the elemental forces stronger than ever. At what cost? "I can't keep this up forever," Lyra shouted, her voice a blend of fear and resolve. "Then we have to end this now," Kaelan replied, determination coursing through him. They had come too far to back down. He could feel the storm brewing within him, a tempest that begged to be unleashed. With a deep breath, he took a step forward, ready to confront Thorne and whatever darkness lay ahead. The winds howled around him, and in that moment, he realized the tides of fate were irrevocably changing. He had to rise to meet them, or risk being swallowed by the very storm he had summoned. As Thorne's voice reached a fever pitch, Kaelan braced himself, prepared to embrace the storm both outside and within. There was no turning back now. This was merely the beginning of a perilous journey that would test the very fabric of who he was meant to be. The sun dipped low over Thalander, casting golden hues across the waves that crashed rhythmically against the rocky shore. Kaelan Stormrider stood at the water's edge, his silhouette framed by the shimmering expanse of the ocean. The salty breeze tousled his silver hair as he took a moment to reflect on his life, the simplicity of it wrapping around him like a comforting cloak. Deep within him, something stirred, a whisper of destiny he couldn't yet comprehend. The artifact, a relic he had unearthed during one of his frequent explorations of the sea caves, lay nestled in the sand beside him. Its surface glinted with an otherworldly light, pulsating softly as if it were alive. Kaelan reached down, fingers brushing against its cool, smooth surface, a rush of energy coursing through him. With every touch, memories flooded back, fragments of stories told by his father, tales of heroes marked by fate, chosen to wield powers beyond comprehension. "Kaelan! Are you coming or what?" Lyra's voice broke through his reverie, sharp and teasing, pulling him back to reality. She stood a few feet away, her dark hair whipping about her face in the wind. Her emerald eyes sparkled with mischief as she eyed the water and then him, clearly ready for their next adventure. "Just contemplating the meaning of life, you know," he quipped back, masking his deeper thoughts with humor. He pushed the artifact from his mind for now. There were more pressing matters at hand. Lyra rolled her eyes. "You always do that. Just grab your swords and let's see what trouble we can get into." Her smile was infectious, and Kaelan felt a familiar warmth spread through him, grounding him in the moment. They were a team after all, mischief and banter their natural language. "Fine, let's go," he replied, hefting the twin swords at his side, their familiar weight providing comfort. As they made their way down the beach, the sound of crashing waves faded, replaced by the distant murmur of the marketplace coming alive. The streets of Thalander bustled with life. Merchants shouted their wares, children dashed about playing games, and the aroma of spiced fish and baked bread filled the air. Kaelan relished these moments. This vibrancy was what he fought to protect, what his father had fought for before him. However, the tranquility was short-lived. As they navigated through the crowd, a shadow flickered at the corner of Kaelan's eye. He turned sharply, instinctively reaching for his swords. There, emerging from the throng, was Thorne, a figure cloaked in darkness, his demeanor unsettling. The air around him felt charged, ominous. "Kaelan Stormrider?" Thorne's voice rolled like thunder, drawing the attention of passers-by, the chosen one. He smiled, but there was nothing warm about it. Sent a chill down Kaelan's spine. "What do you want?" Kaelan replied, trying to keep his voice steady, though adrenaline coursed through his veins. Thorne stepped closer, eyes narrowing, a sneer playing on his lips. "You think you can wield that power without consequence? You've drawn attention, both from me and from forces beyond your understanding." Kaelan felt the weight of the artifact in his pocket, its presence amplifying Thorne's words. "I'm not afraid of you," he shot back, though doubt flickered at the edges of his confidence. "Oh, you will be?" Thorne's hand shot out, and shadows erupted from the ground, twisting and coiling towards Kaelan and Lyra like serpents hungry for prey. "Kaelan, move," Lyra shouted, urgency in her tone as she pulled him to the side. They barely dodged the tendrils of darkness that thrashed around them. And Kaelan's heart pounded in his chest. "This isn't just some game," he yelled back, grasping his swords tightly. "What do you know about my power?" "Enough to know that it doesn't belong to you," Thorne hissed, and the shadows lashed out again. Kaelan reacted instinctively, channeling the magic he had barely begun to understand. With a flick of his wrist, he summoned a wave of water from the ocean, creating a barrier that intercepted the dark tendrils. They hissed and sizzled upon contact, the air thick with tension. "Not bad," Thorne remarked, a glimmer of respect mingled with malice in his eyes. "But it won't be enough to stop me." Kaelan felt the energy drain from him, the effort exhausting yet exhilarating. "Then let's end this," he growled, pushing back against the shadows as he took a step forward, the winds swirling around him, a storm gathering strength. Lyra, always quick on her feet, positioned herself beside him, ready to strike. "We're not alone. We'll face whatever you throw at us together." But with that, the fight ignited, a clash of shadows and elemental forces, each side vying for control. Kaelan's heart raced. He had never faced an enemy like this, yet in the chaos, he felt a flicker of clarity. He wasn't just a boy anymore. The tides were shifting, and he had a role to play in the storm. "Embrace the chaos, Kaelan," he whispered to himself, echoing his father's teachings. The artifact vibrated at his side, and as he unleashed another torrent of water, he understood that this was only the beginning. The tide of battle surged, but with it came a sense of foreboding. They might win this skirmish, but the war was just starting. As the dust settled and shadows wreathed around them, Kaelan realized he had crossed a line. The question now lingered in the air like the storm. What price would he have to pay for the power he had awakened? Thorne's laughter rang out once more, dark and chilling, as he retreated into the crowd, leaving behind a palpable tension in the air. Kaelan exchanged a worried glance with Lyra. They had survived, but at what cost? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world into twilight, Kaelan felt the weight of his new reality settle upon him. The winds howled, and he could almost hear the whispers of destiny beckoning him forward, urging him to embrace the role of the chosen one. But a gnawing question remained. Was he truly ready for what lay ahead? Kaelan Stormrider leaned against the weathered wooden railing of the harbor, the salty air tussling his silver hair as he gazed out at the endless expanse of the ocean. Waves crashed against the rocks below, sending sprays of water that glistened in the fading light of dusk. It was a moment of peace, a fleeting comfort before the storm that had begun to brew within him, a storm he could no longer ignore. Kaelan, the familiar voice of Lyra Shadowbane pierced through the sound of the waves, drawing his attention. She approached, her petite figure a flurry of dark fabric as she deftly navigated the uneven planks. "You're not still brooding, are you?" "I'm not brooding," he replied, a hint of a smile breaking through his earlier tension. "Just thinking can lead to trouble. Trust me, I know," she smirked, flipping her hair over her shoulder with a practiced grace. "Let's find something more fun to do. Maybe we can steal some food from that tavern, or get thrown out for trying." Kaelan teased back, though the thought of light-hearted mischief eased some of the weight on his shoulders. It was a simple life they led, scavenging for food, dodging guards, and enjoying fleeting moments of freedom amidst the chaos of calamity. But something inside him had shifted. The discovery of the ancient artifact felt like a chain around his neck, heavy and unyielding. He could still feel its presence at his side, a pulsing energy that whispered promises of power and responsibility. "I just can't shake the feeling that everything is about to change," he admitted, his tone growing serious. Lyra's expression softened, her green eyes glinting with concern. "You're still the same paladin, with or without the artifact. Just because you found something ancient doesn't mean you have to let it rule you." Kaelan chuckled dryly. "Easier said than done. I can't forget what it did during the fight with Thorne. He rubbed his temples, remembering how the shadows had lashed out at him, how he had felt the sheer force of his own magic responding to his fear. Just remember, power is nothing if you don't have the will to use it wisely, she replied, crossing her arms. You've got a good heart, Kaelan. Don't let that artifact corrupt you. A sudden shiver ran down his spine, not from the chill of the evening breeze, but from the urgency of her words. I'll try. But with Thorne lurking around and Queen Seraphine's eyes on us, I can't help but feel we're in deeper than we realized. Just then, a low rumble echoed across the horizon, and Kaelan turned, narrowing his eyes at the gathering clouds. A storm was rolling in, but this wasn't an ordinary tempest. It was as if the elements themselves were reacting to his turmoil. The wind picked up, howling fiercely, and the sea churned with ferocity. "Get inside?" he shouted, but as they turned to retreat, a brilliant flash of light pierced the darkening sky, illuminating the area around them. In that instant, a voice echoed in his mind, deep and commanding. "Kaelan Stormrider, you have been chosen." He froze, heart racing. The voice was not his own. It came from the very artifact he had discovered. The glow intensified, bathing him in an ethereal light that resonated with his very being. The waves crashed violently against the shore, as if they too felt the call of destiny. "Kaelan." Lyra's voice quivered, and he felt her hand grip his arm tightly. "What's happening?" "I don't know," he exclaimed, panic-lacing his words. The energy enveloped him, and suddenly he was lifted off his feet, hovering just above the ground. The wind swirled around him, whispering secrets he could not grasp. Images flooded his mind, the 5 kingdoms of Eldoria, each one vibrant with elemental power. Faces of warriors, mages, and rulers, each of them watching, waiting. He saw chaos, betrayal, and a shadow looming over everything. The specter of Queen Seraphine. "Restore balance," the voice intoned. "The fate of Eldoria lies in your hands." With a surge of raw emotion, Kaelan crashed back to the ground, the glow dimming, leaving him gasping for breath. The tumultuous sea began to settle, though the weight of his revelation hung heavy in the air. What was that? Lyra's eyes widened with a mix of fear and awe. "The Arbiter," Kaelan murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm the chosen one. This isn't just a game." A flash of uncertainty flickered in her eyes, but she quickly masked it with her signature bravado. "Then we better make a plan. If you're the chosen one, then you have to be ready to face whatever comes next." He nodded slowly, still trying to process the enormity of the moment. The simple life he had known was now overshadowed by a destiny he hadn't asked for. He felt the pressure of expectation weigh upon him, pushing him toward the edge of an unknown future. Before he could respond, a sharp scream broke through the air. They turned to see a figure sprinting towards them, wild-eyed and breathless. "Talendor is under attack." Kaelan's heart sank. "What do you mean?" "The shadows. They're coming from the east." "They've broken through the defenses." A chill ran down his spine, and Kaelan exchanged a grave look with Lyra. This was the moment of reckoning. He could feel the storm brewing within him, a mixture of fear and adrenaline. "We need to help," he said, determination settling in. Lyra gripped his arm. "We can't just run into danger without a plan. If Thorne is behind this." "There's no time. We can't let the city fall." Kaelan, already moving toward the chaos that was beginning to erupt in the streets. As they raced forward, Kaelan's mind whirled with thoughts of his newfound power and the consequences it might bring. Would he be able to save Talendor? Would the choice of becoming the chosen one mean sacrificing everything he held dear? But there was no time for second-guessing now. The shadows beckoned, and as the conflict surged toward him, he could feel the storm within him awakening, ready to unleash its fury. With each step, he sensed that the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty and danger. Yet one truth stood stark in his mind. There was no turning back now. Allies and adversaries. Kaelan stepped into the heart of Blackstone, the city pulsating with an energy both chaotic and vibrant. The air was thick with the scent of spiced meats, and the clamor of vendors hawking their wares. Market stalls spilled over with colorful fabrics and glinting trinkets, a deceptive facade for the darkness that lurked beneath the surface. He moved through the throngs of people, his silver hair catching the light, a stark contrast to the earthy tones of the marketplace. His mission was clear: gather information about the corrupt nobles who had long been a blight on this city. They were more than just wealthy merchants. They wielded power that twisted lives like vines choking a tree. Each step he took felt heavy with the weight of purpose. And yet, the hustle of the streets served as a dissonant backdrop to the storm brewing within him. As he scanned the crowd, Kaelan noticed a group of ruffians loitering near a stall filled with glimmering gemstones. Their laughter was raucous, but there was an undercurrent of menace in their camaraderie. The way they shoved and jeered at passers-by made his hand twitch toward the hilt of his sword, an instinct he was still getting used to. Look at that pretty boy. One of them sneered, gesturing in Kaelan's direction. The others laughed, their eyes narrowing with malice. Kaelan's pulse quickened, the storm inside him crackling in response. He had no intention of engaging them, but as he turned to slip past, a voice cut through the air like a blade. Careful now, boys. You might just want to keep your eyes to yourselves. From the shadows of a nearby alley, a figure emerged. She was petite, with dark hair cascading over her shoulders, and eyes that glinted with mischief and intelligence. Kaelan recognized her instantly, Lyra Shadowbane, the notorious thief. He'd heard whispers of her exploits throughout Blackstone, tales of cunning and escape that bordered on legend. "Why are you following me?" he asked, the edge in his voice sharper than he intended. "Following? Oh no, darling, I'm merely observing," she replied with a smirk, her green eyes dancing with amusement. "You look like a fish out of water. If you keep moving around here like that, you'll draw attention you don't want." Kaelan straightened, brushing off the implication. "I can handle myself." "Of course you can. But it wouldn't hurt to have a little help, would it?" She stepped closer, lowering her voice as she scanned the street. "I know who you're looking for. The nobles, the ones pulling the strings. I can get you information. What's in it for you?" He shot back, instinctively suspicious. Lyra chuckled, a sound that was both light and taunting. "You're smart. I like that. You see, I have my own scores to settle with these nobles. They're not just corrupt, they're dangerous. But I can't take them on alone. If we work together, we both get what we want." Kaelan weighed her words. It was a tempting offer, and deep down, he knew that he needed allies. Yet, the nagging voice of caution echoed in his mind. Trusting a thief, it seemed a fool's gamble. "What's your angle, really?" Her eyes locked onto his, and for a fleeting moment, he saw something genuine in her gaze, perhaps a reflection of his own desperation. "Let's just say I'm tired of living in the shadows. I want to bring those bastards down." He hesitated, battling the instinct to turn away. But the thought of facing the nobles alone, with their wealth and connections, felt like stepping into a trap. If she was right, they were both being hunted. He let out a frustrated sigh. "Fine. But you're going to have to prove yourself. I won't have you betraying me the moment it becomes convenient." Lyra's grin widened, mischief dancing in her eyes. "Deal. Now follow me. I know a place where we can talk more privately." She led him through a narrow alleyway, the chatter of the market fading into a distant hum. Kaelan's senses were on high alert, scanning for any signs of danger as they turned corners and ducked under low, hanging awnings. The path twisted and turned until they emerged into a small courtyard, the remnants of what once might have been a thriving trade post. Lyra gestured to a dilapidated building, its roof sagging and walls covered in creeping vines. "We can talk in there. No ears to listen." He hesitated, but followed her inside, the air thick with dust and the faint scent of mildew. As they stepped into the dim light, he saw remnants of long-forgotten commerce. A dusty table, a few chairs, and a cracked window letting in a shaft of sunlight. Lyra perched on the edge of the table, crossing her arms as she regarded him. "So, what do you want to know? What do you know about the Duke?" he asked. name that was synonymous with corruption in Blackstone. "Oh, the Duke is a piece of work," she began, her tone shifting to one of authority. "He has his fingers in every pie. Smuggling, extortion, you name it. But there's a rumor going around that he's made a deal with a dark power. Something beyond our understanding. He's not just a noble, he's a player in a game far larger than this city." Kellen's brow furrowed. "What kind of dark power?" Lyra shrugged, feigning nonchalance. "Who knows? People talk of the Golden Hand, some kind of elite group. But I'm sure if we dig deeper, we'll uncover more." The implications settled heavily in the air. Kaelan's mind raced, considering the ripple effects of such an alliance. If they could uncover this connection, they might just gain leverage against the Duke and the other corrupt nobles. "Let's find out more," he said, his determination ignited. "But we'll have to be careful. If the nobles catch wind of us digging around..." Lyra waved a hand dismissively. "Let them go. I've been in worse scrapes than this, Stormrider. And trust me, they won't expect a help in their midst. I can be your shadow." He studied her, trying to gauge her sincerity, the weight of their new alliance pressing down on him. "All right, but we keep our heads low. I can't afford to draw any more attention to myself. Not yet. Relax. I've got this." Her confidence was infectious, and Kaelan couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. Perhaps this partnership might work after all. But even as he felt the stirrings of camaraderie, a voice inside him cautioned against misplaced trust. With every second ticking by, the noble's grip on the city tightened, and the storm that raged within him only grew. They were diving into murky waters, and with it came the promise of danger lurking just beyond the horizon. Before he could voice another concern, the door creaked open, revealing a shadowy figure silhouetted against the light. Kaelan's instincts flared to life, and he instinctively moved closer to Lyra, ready to react. "Who's there?" He called out, his voice steady but taut with anticipation. The figure stepped forward, revealing a face that sent a chill racing down Kaelan's spine. It was one of the Duke's enforcers, a man known for his brutality and ruthlessness. "Looking for trouble, Stormrider." He sneered, eyes glowing with malice. As the air thickened with tension, Kaelan's heart raced. The true test of their alliance was about to begin. Kaelan's heart hammered in his chest as the enforcer's taunting voice echoed in a small, dimly lit room. "What's a pretty boy like you doing in a place like this?" The man stepped forward, filling the space with a palpable menace that seemed to suffocate the air. Lyra's demeanor shifted instantly. She flicked her dark hair over her shoulder and stepped slightly in front of Kaelan, her posture deceptively relaxed, as if she were facing a mere nuisance rather than a formidable threat. "We're just sharing a few stories, love. Why don't you go fetch your master instead of wasting our time?" Kaelan felt a mix of admiration and trepidation as he watched Lyra. She thrived in this environment, where danger lurked at every corner, whereas he felt like a storm brewing in an open field, exposed and unpredictable. "Lyra, maybe we should." "Shut it, Stormrider," she hissed, her green eyes narrowing. "We've got to think fast." The enforcer's lips curled into a derisive smirk. "You're in over your heads, both of you. The Duke doesn't take kindly to nosy little thieves or wannabe heroes. You should have stayed out of Blackstone if you didn't want to swim with the sharks." He stepped closer, drawing a dagger from his belt, the blade gleaming menacingly under the flickering light. "Not a very friendly welcome," Kaelan said, forcing his voice to remain steady, but he could feel the tension coiling tighter in his gut. This was not how he had envisioned his first real confrontation in Blackstone. Lyra glanced at him, and for a fleeting moment, he saw uncertainty flicker in her gaze before she squared her shoulders, emboldened. "We're not here to cause trouble," she said, her voice smooth yet firm, "just conducting some business. Surely, a man of your stature can respect that." The enforcer laughed, a low, chilling sound that echoed off the walls. "Respect. You think that matters in this city? You're in the wrong neighborhood, girl. And I'm afraid your business is about to come to a very abrupt end." Kaelan's mind raced. They needed a plan, but before he could suggest a road of escape, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway outside the door. Panic surged through him. "We need to go now," without waiting for Lyra's response. He grabbed her wrist and pulled her towards the back of the room, instinct guiding his movements. The enforcer lunged after them, dagger glinting in the sparse light. But Lyra was quick, deftly ducking under his arm as she maneuvered past him. "Through here," she shouted, pointing towards a narrow passage that led deeper into the building. The corridor was barely wide enough for them to squeeze through side by side, but Kaelan didn't hesitate. They pressed into the shadows, the sound of their footsteps swallowed by the dimness that surrounded them. Kaelan could feel the adrenaline pumping through his veins, his heart racing as they navigated the cramped passageway. The air was thick, laced with the musty scent of damp stone, mingling with a hint of smoke from somewhere nearby. "Where does this lead?" he asked, trying to keep his voice low, but the urgency clawed at his throat. "Just follow me," Lyra replied, her tone clipped and focused. "If we can get out through the back, we might just slip away unnoticed." Kaelan felt a rush of respect for her as they raced through the twisting maze of corridors, dodging low-hanging beams and the occasional pile of debris. Her confidence in navigating this labyrinth made him realize just how unprepared he felt in this world of thieves and murderers. Suddenly, a shout echoed behind them, followed by the heavy sound of booted feet pounding against the stone floor. "Stop them," a voice called out, laced with authority. "Don't let them escape." Kaelan shot a glance over his shoulder and felt a jolt of fear. "We have to move faster," he urged, desperation creeping into his voice. "Hold on," Lyra said, her green eyes glinting with determination. She raised her hand, and with a swift incantation, a shimmer of blue light surrounded them. "Just stay close," a ripple of illusion swept out from her, casting a veil of confusion around them. Kaelan felt the energy crackle in the air, and for a moment, he believed they might just make it. The sound of footsteps grew fainter as they turned down another alley, the world around them shifting and distorting in response to Lyra's magic. But just as they rounded a corner, Kaelan heard a shout, sharper and more precise than before. "They went this way, I can see them," Lyra cursed under her breath, the illusion flickering momentarily as her concentration wavered. Kaelan's heart sank as he realized the danger they were in. "Lyra, the spell is fading," he exclaimed, panic edging into his voice.
"I know."
"Just keep running," she snapped, urgency pouring from her. The illusion flickered once more, and Kaelan could feel their visibility waning. He had to act quickly. Desperately searching for a way out, Kaelan spotted a narrow doorway half, hidden by a stack of crates. "There," he shouted, veering toward it. They dove through the entrance just as a flash of steel whizzed past them, embedding itself in the wall where they had been moments before. Inside the cramped room, they collapsed against the wall, gasping for breath. Kaelan pressed his back against the cool stone, his heart still hammering in his chest. "Do you think they saw us?" Lyra shook her head, a bead of sweat trailing down her brow. "They'll be looking for us. We can't stay here long." Her voice was steady, but Kaelan could see the adrenaline still coursing through her. "Can you cast the illusion again?" he asked, his mind racing through options. She took a deep breath, her fingers twitching as she considered the possibilities. "I can, but it'll take more energy than before, and if they're smart, they'll come looking. We need to find a way to blend in." Before Kaelan could respond, the door rattled violently, sending tremors through the room.
"Search everywhere."
"They can't have gotten far." The enforcer's voice was close now, filled with menace. "Time's up," Lyra hissed, her expression shifting to one of fierce determination. "We need a distraction." Kaelan nodded, his mind racing. "I can create a water barrier to block the entrance. It might give us a few precious moments." "Do it," Lyra commanded, her voice a sharp whip in the tense air. Kaelan quickly focused his energy, feeling the cool essence of water rise from the very air around him. With a swift
What does the
motion,
Duke have to
he
do with
conjured
the
a
golden
barrier
hand?
of swirling water that cascaded toward the door, its surface shimmering as it solidified. The door burst open just as the water surged forward, drenching the enforcer and several guards who had just entered.
There is a ledger.
They stumbled back,
a
shouting in
one.
shock, their confusion
Alec keeps
creating
it
the
hidden
precious
in his
seconds they
estate,
needed.
away from prying
Now,
eyes.
Lyra shouted, and they bolted from their hiding spot. Kaelan felt the rush of freedom mixed with fear as they dashed through another passage, the sounds of chaos fading behind them. They burst into an open courtyard. The evening sky painted with hues of orange and violet. People milled about, oblivious to the danger lurking just beyond the walls. Lyra scanned the area, her eyes darting as she sought an escape. Here, she pointed toward a group of merchants packing up their wares. Blend in, quickly. Kaelan didn't hesitate. They slipped into the throng, his instincts kicking in as he mimicked the busy merchants, the sense of spices and fruits flooding his senses. He felt Lyra close by, her presence grounding him amidst the chaos. But as they maneuvered through the crowd, Kaelan could sense something wasn't right. His intuition prickled at the back of his mind. There was a feeling in the air, an unsettling shift that made him look around. The people in the market appeared nervous, glancing over their shoulders, whispering in hushed tones. "What's happening?" Kaelan murmured to Lyra, his brow furrowing. "Something's wrong," she replied, her voice low and tense. "We need to get out of here." Just then, a figure stepped into the center of the square, drawing the attention of everyone. It was a man dressed in fine clothing, his demeanor radiating authority. "People of Blackstone," he called out, his voice ringing out like a bell. "We are facing a grave threat. Shadows have begun to creep into our midst, and it is our duty to unite against them." Kaelan's heart raced. The mention of shadows resonated deeply with him, the same shadows that had emerged from the east and threatened Thorne. He shared a worried glance at Lyra. This was bigger than just them now. As the crowd murmured in response to the man's speech, Kaelan could feel a tightening in his chest. Their alliance, forged under fire and necessity, had just taken a turn into a dangerous territory they hadn't anticipated. "Let's move," Lyra urged, her voice barely above a whisper, tugging at his arm. "We can't stay here. We're drawing attention." With the tension in the air palpable, Kaelan nodded. They began to slip away from the crowd, uncertainty pressing down upon them like a thick fog. What lay ahead was unknown, but Kaelan could feel the weight of their decision to ally together settling into his bones. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about facing the darkness that threatened to engulf Eldoria. As they navigated through the back streets of Blackstone, the whispers of impending chaos followed them like a shadow. The city was alive with secrets, and the shadows they chased were closing in, ready to reveal their true intentions. They maneuvered through the labyrinthine alleyways of Blackstone, the evening air thick with tension. The vibrant colors of the market faded into muted shadows, and Kaelan could feel the pulse of the city beneath his feet, alive yet restless, as if anticipating the inevitable clash to come. Lyra led the way, her small frame darting through the gaps between weathered stalls and abandoned carts. She paused for a moment, casting a glance over her shoulder. "We need to find out what's really going on here." That noble speech wasn't just for show. Kaelan nodded, his mind racing with the implications. He was no stranger to deceit, but the extent of corruption in Blackstone was beginning to unfold like a dark tapestry. "Do you know where we can find information?" "Follow me," she said, her eyes narrowing in determination. "There's a tavern not far from here that serves as a meeting place for those who aren't afraid to speak their minds. But be ready, nobles don't take kindly to dissent." As they approached the tavern, the scent of ale and roasted meat wafted through the air, mingling with the whispers of secretive conversations. The tavern's wooden sign creaked as it swayed in the breeze. Reading, the hushed crow, it felt both inviting and ominous, a place where the city's secrets were traded like currency. They slipped inside, and the atmosphere enveloped them like a cloak. Low voices filled the room, laughter mingling with the clinking of mugs. Kaelan's gaze swept the crowded space, searching for any sign of trouble or allies. In one corner, a group of grizzled men huddled together, their voices low but intense. Kaelan recognized one of them as a local merchant, often seen dealing with the nobility. Lyra took the lead again, threading her way toward the merchant, her presence a blend of stealth and confidence. Kaelan followed closely, feeling a knot of anticipation twist in his stomach. "Do you think he'll talk?" he asked quietly. "If there's profit in it for him, he will," she replied, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Just let me do the talking."
Beware the shadows
As
that
they reached the
consume.
merchant,
They
Lyra
are
leaned in,
already
her voice
watching.
sweet yet commanding. "Good evening, Elias. I hope you don't mind a couple of curious travelers joining your discussion." Elias looked up, his expression shifting from surprise to amusement. "Curious travelers, you say? In a tavern like this, I'd say you're looking for trouble." Kaelan couldn't help but smirk at Lyra's boldness. "Or we're hoping to find the truth?" Elias studied them for a moment, then leaned back, considering. "The truth, huh? That's a dangerous pursuit in Blackstone. The nobles don't take kindly to those asking questions. What do you want to know?" Lyra exchanged a glance with Kaelan before responding. "We heard a speech from a certain noble today. He mentioned shadows. We want to know what he meant and what's really happening in this city." Elias's expression darkened, the laughter around them fading into an uneasy silence. "The shadows, yes. They're not just a metaphor, my friends. The noble you heard, Lord Eric, is stirring the pot, trying to consolidate power under the guise of protection. But the people suffer while he tightens his grip." But Kaelan's pulse quickened. "What do you mean by the people suffer?" Elias leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "Taxes have skyrocketed, and food supplies are dwindling. Those in power are lining their pockets, while the rest of us scrape by. It's only a matter of time before the discontent boils over. And when it does..." He trailed off, glancing around the room as if afraid of being overheard. "What about the shadows? What do they have to do with this?" Kaelan pressed. "There are rumors of a dark force rising." Elias continued, his eyes darting nervously. "People have gone missing, and whispers of a cult dedicated to awakening something ancient have spread through the underbelly of the city. They believe it will grant them power, but at what cost? They'll bring ruin if they succeed." Kaelan felt a chill run down his spine. The storm within him stirred restlessly, sensing the weight of what lay ahead. "And Lord Eric, is he involved?" "Everything points back to him," Elias replied grimly. "But he's been seen in the company of those who would dabble in dark magic. There's a ledger, a record of transactions that could expose everything. But it's locked away in his estate, heavily guarded. Then we need to get our hands on that ledger," Kaelan declared, fierce determination settling over him. "What can't let this continue?" Lyra nodded in agreement, her green eyes glinting with excitement. "If we can expose Eric and his dealings, it could rally the citizens. They need a spark to ignite their rebellion." Elias raised an eyebrow, skepticism etched on his face. "You two are braver than you look. But you'll need a plan. Sneaking into his estate would be dangerous. Danger is our middle name." Lyra quipped, her tone laced with sarcasm. "Besides, we have to try." As the conversation shifted to logistics, Kaelan couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into a larger game. The noble's eyes, the shadows lurking in the alleys, and now whispers of a cult. All were pieces of a puzzle he was only beginning to grasp. A sudden commotion erupted near the entrance, and the atmosphere in the tavern shifted dramatically. The heavy door burst open, and a group of guards strode in, their armor clinking ominously. Kaelan's heart raced as he recognized the leader, a brutish man known for his ruthless enforcement of the noble's laws. "Search the place," the leader barked. "We've received word of dissenters gathering. No one leaves until we find them." The tavern erupted into chaos, patrons scrambling for exits. Lyra's eyes met Kaelan's, and a spark of urgency passed between them. "We need to move," she said, her voice tense. Kaelan's mind raced. This wasn't just about them anymore. They had stirred something much larger. "Elias, we'll get that ledger. Just stay safe." As they slipped into the crowd, the guards' shouts ringing in their ears, Kaelan felt the weight of the city's shadows close in around them. This was the moment where alliances were tested, and adversaries revealed themselves. The stakes had never been higher.
We have
Just
a common
outside
enemy.
the tavern, the
whether
cool
you
night
like it
air
or
hit
not.
Kaelan's face like a splash of cold water, awakening him to the reality of their situation. They were now part of a game far beyond their understanding, and the cost of failure was looming larger than ever. Where to now? Lyra asked, her breath quickening as they rounded a corner, seeking cover from the guards. Kaelan took a deep breath, his determination solidified. We go after that ledger. We find a way into Lord Eric's estate, and we expose this corruption once and for all. The storm within him raged, and with each step forward, he felt a surge of power and purpose. The shadows may have closed in, but they would not define him. Together, he and Lyra would fight against the darkness, one secret at a time. Kaelan and Lyra hurried through the winding streets of Blackstone, the night air thick with tension. The sounds of chaos echoed behind them, the clamor of guards and the frightened shouts of townsfolk resonating in their ears. Each corner they turned felt like a step deeper into an uncertain abyss. "Do you think they saw us?" Kaelan whispered, glancing over his shoulder. The shadows clung to the narrow alleyways, their dark fingers stretching like the anxious fingers of fate. Lyra merely shook her head. "I doubt it. We're too fast for these brutes. But we need to be cautious. They'll be searching for us." Her eyes sparkled with a mix of mischief and determination, a spark that was all too contagious. They ducked into a smaller side street, its cobblestones worn smooth by the passage of countless feet. "We should find a place to lay low for a moment," Kaelan suggested, scanning the area. The tavern was too hot. "Follow me," Lyra urged, darting down a passageway adorned with flickering lanterns. She led him to an old shop, its door slightly ajar. The sign above creaked gently in the breeze, reading, "Curios and Oddities." Once inside, they were greeted by the musty scent of aged parchment and herbs. The dimly lit room was cluttered with shelves of bizarre artifacts, the walls lined with maps of ancient lands and tomes filled with mysterious runes. It was a refuge, albeit an unusual one. "Stay quiet," Lyra instructed as they edged further inside, her voice barely above a whisper. "This place is often frequented by those looking for unconventional goods. The owner is a friend, but he's skittish. We can't let anyone know we're here." As they settled into a corner, Kaelan felt a sense of urgency settle over him. "What now?" he asked, the weight of their situation pressing heavily on his shoulders. "We can't stay hidden forever. We need to gather information on Lord Eric's dealings." Lyra nodded, her brow furrowing in concentration. "I have contacts in the city. If we can make a few discreet inquiries, we might uncover the right leads to get into his estate." Just then, the shopkeeper, a wary man with a scruffy beard and nervous eyes, peeked from behind a curtain. "What's this? Who's hiding in my shop?" His voice was sharp, tinged with a mix of fear and curiosity. "Calm down, Arlen," Lyra replied, her tone soothing. "It's just us. We need your help." Arlen stepped forward, glancing nervously at the door. "You shouldn't be here. The guards are everywhere. If they catch you..." "We know, but we're not here to cause trouble," Kaelan interjected, meeting the shopkeeper's gaze with determination. "When need information, Lord Eric is involved in something sinister, and we have to stop it." Arlen's expression shifted, a flicker of recognition crossing his face. "Eric, that man's a snake. I've seen him in dealings with some unsavory characters." "Dark magic," whispered Chance at her. Kaelan exchanged a glance with Lyra, the air between them thickening with the implication of those words. "What do you mean?" he pressed. "I don't know much, but rumors say they're gathering strength in the shadows, preparing for something big," Arlen replied, his voice lowering to a conspiratorial hush. "They're seeking power, ancient power. You may want to stay away." Lyra leaned in, her green eyes alight with interest. "What kind of power? Do you have any leads?" "Their meetings are held at the old church at the edge of town, a place long abandoned," Arlen explained. "But be careful. If the guards catch wind of you snooping around there, it won't end well." Kaelan's mind raced, piecing together the threads of information. We have to check it out. This could be our chance to expose Eric and whatever dark force he's connected to. Lyra bit her lip, uncertainty flickering in her gaze. It's risky, Kaelan. We'll be stepping right into the lion's den. We're already in danger, Lyra. Kaelan replied, his voice steady. If we don't act now, we might lose our only opportunity. Plus, we can't let whatever dark power he's dabbling in spread further. The urgency of their situation crackled in the air like static. The shopkeeper fidgeted nervously, glancing between them. You really think you can take them on? A couple of kids against a powerful noble and his followers. Kaelan straightened, a surge of determination flooding his veins. We may be outnumbered, but we have something they don't. Resolve. We're fighting for something greater than ourselves. Harlan studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly, as if coming to a conclusion. All right then. If you're set on this path, take this. He handed Kaelan a small, intricately carved amulet. It'll help you in the dark. But be careful. The shadows can consume those who aren't prepared. But Kaelan accepted the amulet, its weight resting comfortably in his palm. He glanced at Lyra, her resolve hardening. We're going to stop. We have to, as they prepared to leave. The distant clanging of metal against metal echoed through the streets, a reminder of the guards still patrolling. They slipped out of the shop, Lyra leading the way, her movements fluid and practiced. The moon hung high in the night sky, casting an eerie glow over Blackstone. Kaelan felt the thrill of adrenaline surging within him. The darkness of the city held secrets, and as they navigated the twisted alleys, a new sense of purpose propelled them forward. Just as they rounded a corner, the shadows deepened around them. Kaelan could feel it, the palpable tension of an unseen force lurking just beyond the reach of light. Then, from a nearby shadow, a voice slithered out, smooth yet menacing. Well, what do we have here? A pair of little mice scurrying about. Kaelan froze, recognizing the voice. He turned slowly, facing the figure emerging from the darkness, a sly grin plastered on his face. Thorne, the betrayer, stood before them, arms crossed and eyes glinting with amusement. Looking for trouble? Are we? Or perhaps just a little bit of adventure? Thorne's tone dripped with mockery, each word calculated to provoke. Lyra instinctively moved closer to Kaelan, a flash of uncertainty. What do you want, Thorne? She snapped, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. Oh, I just happened to be in the neighborhood, and thought I'd see what you two are up to. You know, the streets are buzzing with rumors about you, Kaelan. The chosen one, they say. What a title. But you really shouldn't get in over your head. But Kaelan's jaw clenched. What do you want? He repeated, this time with a harder edge. Thorne's grin widened, and he stepped closer, his presence unsettling. Let's just say, I might know something that could be quite valuable to you. Something about that cult you're chasing. The atmosphere shifted, tension thickening. Kaelan felt a pit forming in his stomach. What do you want in return? He asked cautiously, unwilling to trust the very man who betrayed them. Simply, Thorne replied, his eyes gleaming with a mixture of challenge and intrigue. An alliance. We have a common enemy now. Let's see if you can handle the truth. The proposition hung in the air, ripe with danger and temptation. Kaelan's heart raced, caught in a web of uncertainty. Would forming an alliance with Thorne lead them closer to the truth, or was it a step further into darkness? Before he could respond, the sound of guards echoed closer, their shouts piercing the night. Thorne's smirk faded slightly, urgency sparking in his demeanor. Think quickly, Kaelan. What's it going to be? Lyra looked at Kaelan, uncertainty clouding her expression, but there was a flicker of something deeper, an understanding of the stakes involved. They needed allies, even if they were reluctant ones. Kaelan's resolve hardened, but as he opened his mouth to speak, the shadows around them began to shift. The dark power they had spoken of felt closer now, palpable in the tension that crackled through the air. All right, Thorne, Kaelan finally said, locking eyes with his betrayer. Let's talk. And as they turned to face the encroaching threat, Kaelan knew that the stakes had just risen to a perilous height. The shadows were watching, and the game was only just beginning.